because the mayor of Chicago is anti-cop. He's anti-law enforcement. He thinks cops are the problem. He thinks that crime in the south and west sides of Chicago, where there are a lot of homicides, even for an American city, a lot of homicides going on, he thinks that the issue is mass incarceration and over-policing, Clay. That's the bottom line.
Joe Scarborough, probably and potentially still smarting from the public humiliation that he suffered, because he said that Joe Biden 2024 was just as good of a Biden as he had ever seen. In fact, the best version of Biden. And after the June 27th debate, I think Joe Scarborough was embarrassed on a level that it's hard to be embarrassed in public prognostication. And I think he has decided a bit to go to war with the diehard MSNBC viewing audience. Remember, he and Mika initially were very favorable with Trump. Then that relationship turned negative. Then they went and kissed the ring after Trump won re-election, which led many of the people in the MSNBC audience to be furious. The MSNBC audience has not been galvanized this time by the Trump administration. In fact, audience ratings have continued to be weak and to, frankly, collapse. And maybe that has emboldened Joe Scarborough to actually start being a journalist. Because, Buck, you shared this morning. I went and watched, and I got to give Joe Scarborough credit. He had on Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. And let's set the table here. I think brilliantly, in the summer months here, Trump has changed the agenda from basically tariffs and worrying about the economy because we're at record stock market highs. And he has said, we're going to go to war with violent crime. And D.C. was the first place that he decided to bring out the National Guard. I believe we are now, and correct me if I'm wrong, team, I think we're at either day 12 or day 13 without a murder in D.C. Overall crime rates have fallen precipitously. And now Trump is talking about bringing the National Guard to Chicago and Baltimore and other American cities that he believes have far too high of a crime rate. And Joe Scarborough asked Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson this morning on MSNBC a very simple question. Would having more police officers make the city of Chicago safer? And I want to play, I'm going to call for each of these in succession. I want to play you the mayor of Chicago refusing to answer if more police officers would make the city safer. Here is part one.
Would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago? Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone.
Okay, this continues.
Can I just real,
one? Yeah.
The way we set this up is, would more cops be helpful? Joe Scarborough is actually conceding as part of his questioning here. He says, if we give you all the money you want for your violence interrupters, for your community organizers, for your all these, by the way, things that do absolutely nothing. I know you'll find some radicals who will say, oh my gosh, the history of violence interrupters, please give me a break, okay? Social workers. He says, with all that, would you also want more cops? And now, Clay, you can continue to work through that. It's astonishing, this guy, the mayor of Chicago.
Here is part two. Mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, he of the recent 6% approval rating, asked again, yes or no, would 5,000 cops help? MSNBC this morning.
Of course, we want more detectives.
I know it's not policing alone, but I know it's not policing alone. You've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that
that's not the question I asked. My question is, and I just need a yes or a no, do you believe the streets of Chicago would be safer if you got all of those other extraordinary programs put back into place, which do have a history of being successful, if that's complemented by having 5,000 more cops on the streets of Chicago?
I don't believe that we should narrow it down to just police officers, Joe, is what I'm saying. That is an antiquated approach.
Okay, it continues, Buck. And I just think I got to give Coach Joe Scarborough credit. He sounds a bit like me back in the day with Mike Pence when you just can't get an answer from a question that you think is actually an important one. Here is more. Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago, having his feet held to the fire on a simple question. Hey, would more cops help? Cut 3.
I'm saying we've invested in detectives.
Mr. Mayor, are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that all of these other social programs are extraordinarily important. I just need a yes or a no, and then this will be the last time I ask. If you get all of those other social programs that 800 million that New York City does, Los Angeles, other people do with great success, would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
Look, we are working hard to make sure that our police department is fully supported. I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer. What I'm saying is policing and affordable housing, is policing and mental and behavioral health care services, is policing and youth employment.
Okay,
Clay,
this is important, I think.
Joe Scarborough is basically begging this guy.
Yes.
Begging. He's like, hey, moron, I'll give you everything else you want. We'll pretend all these programs that don't do a darn thing in any of these places that anyone can measure will also be in place here. But can you just say more cops would help with the crime problem? Could you please just say it? He won't say it. The mayor of Chicago, and it's because the mayor of Chicago is anti-cop. He's anti-law enforcement. He thinks cops are the problem. He thinks that crime in the south and west sides of Chicago, where there are a lot of homicides, even for an American city, a lot of homicides going on, he thinks that the issue is mass incarceration and over-policing, Clay. That's the bottom line. And he won't change his mind.
Yes. And I think this is brilliant of Trump. I just think it is absolutely brilliant. And I am staggered at the stupidity of Democrats responding to this. Trump is trying to lower violent crime. In so doing, he is going to save more black lives by far than anyone who marched in BLM protests and argued for defunding the police ever did. In fact, that cost black lives. And most of you out there, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, gay, straight, male, female, all of you say, yeah, more cops would help. Why can Democrats not say it? Because the base of the Democrat Party still believes that police are the problem. They believe a lie. And I think this is why Trump has cut through the noise. And the results here, we sometimes talk, Buck, and I think it's important that there are two tracks on everything. Is it politically smart, and does it actually make the country better? Sometimes those don't overlap. Here they do. It's both politically smart and the country is better if we lower the overall rate of violent crime. And Trump has cut through the noise. And right now, the debate we're having in the summer of his first term is, should we have more police? And is Trump trying to lower violent crime too aggressively? It's brilliant. I got to give him credit for it. It is absolutely brilliant.
And we're going to have more for you, by the way, because right now, just a couple of minutes ago, Trump started a cabinet meeting, and You know what that means. It's a Trumpathon, everybody. He's got stuff on the economy, on crime, on Ukraine, on everything. We, because we have the best team in the radio business, are monitoring in real time as we talk to you, bringing you all of the highlights of this. We might even join it live if he gets onto a particular topic that we think is necessary to get into every detail about. But Clay, the Trumpathon begins once again.
No doubt. And we were just talking about violent crime, and it's also return to school season. Maybe you got a new kid that is driving for the first time to school. We've got that in the Travis household. Maybe you have got a kid or grandkid that's gone off to college for the first time. Maybe kid or grandkid has moved into a new apartment, new condo, new townhome. Maybe they are living on their own for the first time, or heck, maybe you just moved into a new house and you're a little bit nervous about what that neighborhood might be like. How about non-lethal methods to protect you and your family? We have every single one of these products in the Travis household, and you can as well with Saber. You can save 15% on Saber's mega bundle, extra projectiles, magazines, practice targets. You're going to love this, but also pepper spray. My 17-year-old's driving in the middle console of his vehicle, pepper spray, just in case he happens to have an issue when he's going to school or when he's pumping gas or when he's doing anything that might raise as an issue. Saber's pepper sprays, pepper gels, and projectile devices made right here in the good old USA. And if you go check out their website right now, these are non-lethal protective mechanisms for you and your family, for your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, whoever you want to take care of, your friends, your family. You can act now and save 15% on Saber's mega bundle by going to saberradio.com. That's SABRE radio.com. You can also call them at 844-824-SAFE. That's saberradio.com, SABRE radio.com. Get hooked up today.